I started realizing, oh, the name calling, I felt different, like all the things that really started happening that year. And, for the next 2 or 3 years, it was a consistent theme, but I would just brush it off.
After her diagnosis, Joanna's husband, Chip, Gaines leaves fans in tears. There are couples who look good in photographs, and then there are couples who make you believe in something more enduring than a posed smile. For over 2 decades, Chip and Joanna Gaines have belonged firmly in that second category. From the moment America first watched them breathe new life into worn-down houses on HGTV's Fixer Upper, something about their partnership felt different, genuine, imperfect, and quietly remarkable. But it was not a camera crew, a renovation reveal, or a Magnolia launch that moved fans to tears in recent years. It was a health crisis, a hospital bed, and the way one husband responded to it all that reminded millions of people why this couple has always been something worth paying attention to. To understand why Chip Gaines' response to Joanna's diagnosis hit so deeply, you have to understand the world these two had built and what it cost them to build it. Fixer Upper debuted in 2014, and within a few short seasons, Chip and Joanna Gaines had become something rare in the entertainment world. Genuinely beloved, they were not controversial figures chasing ratings through drama. They were a husband and wife who fixed broken houses together, laughed at each other's jokes, and went home to 5 children in Waco, Texas every night. That simplicity, in a media landscape built on conflict and spectacle, felt revolutionary. And so their audience grew massive, loyal, and deeply personally invested in their story. Together, Chip and Joanna celebrated their 22nd wedding anniversary in May 2025, having built beautiful homes, a large family, and a massive empire that includes Fixer Upper and its spin-offs, product lines, books, and their own Magnolia television network. By any external measure, they had achieved everything. But the most revealing chapter of their story had nothing to do with television ratings or business expansion. It had everything to do with a recurring injury that Joanna had been quietly carrying for most of her adult life. Yahoo! Joanna's back trouble stretched all the way back to her high school cheerleading days, when a basket toss gone wrong left her with a herniated disc that she has been managing ever since. She had her first microdiscectomy in 2001, and then had to undergo the same procedure again at the end of 2022. For those unfamiliar, a microdiscectomy is a minimally invasive procedure designed to treat herniated discs and relieve the pain that comes with them. The fact that Joanna required it a second time, 21 years after the first, speaks to how much physical demand her career had placed on a body already carrying an old wound. Years of filming renovations, lifting, walking through job sites, traveling constantly, and managing the relentless energy of a growing business empire had quietly taken their toll. And when the injury finally forced her hand, it did so at the most inopportune moment possible, the holiday season. TV Insider. Joanna shared the news with her followers in a December 2022 Instagram post, posting photos from her hospital bed and later from home while she rested. The image of her in that hospital bed, calm and honest with her audience, struck something real in the millions of people who follow her. There was no glamour, no carefully arranged lighting, just Joanna being human in a moment when the world might have expected her to disappear quietly. In her own words, she explained the situation plainly. I had my first microdiscectomy in 2001 and had to cancel my second date with Chip Gaines, and then had the same procedure on another disc 2 weeks ago. I've always joked that my back likes to act up at the most inconvenient times, and I was a bit stressed because of the timing of it all with the holiday season. LOL, that detail. The canceled second date with Chip back in 2001 quietly reminded everyone reading it that this injury had been woven into the fabric of their entire love story. It was there at the beginning, and here it was again, demanding attention at the close of 2022. But rather than expressing frustration or defeat, Joanna chose a different perspective. She wrote that she was truly grateful for forced rest during the busiest time of the year, describing the stillness that followed surgery as a gift to simply stay put, stare at the wonder all around, and just be still. LOL, those words landed differently than most celebrity health updates do. They were not a press release or a carefully managed statement. They were the honest reflection of a woman who had spent years moving at a pace that her own body was no longer willing to sustain. And for fans who had watched Joanna design, build, create, and give ceaselessly for over a decade, There was something quietly heartbreaking about the image of her being forced to stop. Joanna's followers flooded her posts with love and support, responding in massive numbers even as she had limited the comments on the post. Hello. But what moved people most deeply was not simply Joanna's diagnosis. It was what Chip did next. Chip Gaines has always been the louder half of this partnership, the one cracking jokes on construction sites, the one who brings chaos and enthusiasm into every frame he inhabits. He is, by his own admission, someone who expresses love through action, through presence, through doing. And so when Joanna came home from surgery during the busiest weeks of the year, Chip did what he has always done. He showed up. She stayed at home, surrounded by the warmth of her family, while the rest of the world rushed through holiday checklists. Chip set aside whatever else was on his schedule, whatever meetings, appearances, or Magnolia commitments existed, and stayed close. The man who built a television career around fixing things understood, perhaps more clearly in that moment than ever before, that there are some things you cannot fix with tools, timelines, or determination. Sometimes the only thing that works is simply being there. Private Tetrapy clinics. What fans witnessed in the months and years following Joanna's surgery was a quieter, more reflective version of Chip Gaines. Those who had watched him for years noticed something different. Not a diminished version of him, but a deepened one. The energy was still there, but it was now directed with more intention. By early 2025, Joanna shared how she and Chip had recently strengthened their bond by exercising together, either at their home gym or at dance classes. There's really no shortage of us doing things together, she told us weekly. But what I've loved most about this new rhythm of working out together is that it's new and different for us. But it's also been interesting to see that the way we show up for each other in our little garage gym is the same way we always have at the office or with a new project. Parade. That statement carried enormous weight for anyone who understood the context. These were not two people running alongside each other while staring at separate screens. They were two people who had been through something difficult together and who had come out the other side choosing to rebuild not just their business routines, but their personal ones. During a July 2025 interview with People magazine, Joanna revealed that she had hired a couple to come to their office and teach her and Chip how to dance. Chip admitted the experience was genuinely awkward at first. Just she and I with this couple. You talk about awkward, but that after a few weeks, the lessons became something they both looked forward to. It was a sweet reminder, he said, that all of us could use refreshes and challenges in our relationships. OL. There is something deeply touching about that image. The man who once swung sledgehammers through walls on national television, now standing in an office learning to slow dance with his wife. It was not a staged moment for the cameras. It was Chip Gaines in his mid-40s, choosing something gentle and unfamiliar because the woman beside him mattered more than looking capable. Joanna announced in January 2025 that she was feeling stronger than ever, sharing on social media that after months of working with a personal trainer, she had completed 50 push-ups, a milestone that felt significant given that on her very first day she had told her trainer she could not do them at all because of her back. She celebrated that moment publicly, not as a grand announcement, but as an honest acknowledgement that recovery is real work, that healing takes time, and that the other side of a difficult season can look like something worth celebrating. The response from fans was immediate and emotional. People who had followed her journey for years felt the weight of that post. Not because 50 push-ups is extraordinary in isolation, but because they knew what it had cost her to get there. Yahoo! In an interview with People in 2025, Joanna reflected on 22 years of marriage with quiet honesty. What we realize in 22 years of marriage is we still feel like newbies. Anytime you unlock a new thing, and you do it together, it only grows your relationship. Chip added that from his perspective, their marriage stayed strong, because he still pursued Joanna the way he had when they were first dating. It sounds simple, but in practice, after 2 decades, 5 children, a global brand, a health crisis, and the inevitable way of adult life, choosing to still pursue each other is anything but simple. It is a daily decision made against the current of everything else competing for attention. Women. Joanna also shared that she and Chip had non-negotiables from day one, even during the first 12 years of their marriage when things were genuinely difficult. That admission mattered too, because it punctured the myth that has always surrounded them, the idea that their relationship has been effortlessly beautiful from the beginning. The truth, like most truths worth knowing, is more complicated and more interesting. They struggled. They made intentional choices. They kept showing up. And when Joanna's health forced them to slow down together, the foundation they had built through all those difficult years was what held. Parade. What moved fans to tears was not the diagnosis itself, or even the surgery, or the recovery. It was the totality of it. The way Chip and Joanna faced a frightening moment not as television personalities managing a public narrative, but as a husband and wife navigating something real and painful together. It was Chip going quiet when Joanna needed quiet. It was Joanna being honest about her hospital bed when she could have hidden it. It was both of them choosing, on the other side of that experience, to learn to dance, to exercise together, to slow down, to look each other in the eye. Despite the challenges of maintaining their demanding empire, Chip and Joanna have worked on improving their relationship by prioritizing family time and wellness activities. The fame, the network, the product lines, the magazine, none of it disappeared, but its place in the hierarchy of what matters shifted. And fans, watching from a distance, felt that shift and recognized it as something true. Yahoo! In a world that celebrates speed, productivity, and the relentless pursuit of more, there is something quietly radical about watching two people choose each other over everything else, even briefly, even imperfectly. Chip Gaines did not give a grand speech. He did not post an emotional tribute or call a press conference. He simply stayed home, stayed present, and stayed beside the woman he had been beside since before Magnolia, before Fixer Upper, before any of it. And in doing so, he reminded millions of people watching that the most important renovation you will ever undertake is the one that happens inside your own home, between the people you love, where no camera crew is rolling and no audience is watching. That is a story that left fans in tears. And it is, without question, their most important one.